Hello and welcome. Today we are in the Tier 10 Japanese battleship, the Shikishima. We're playing a ranked battle on the map Sleeping Giant, and unfortunately there are aircraft carriers involved. However, luckily it is arms race, and I think the effect of CVs in arms race is slightly less than in other types of game modes, mostly because you have a constant heal going on, which means that ships will just heal up naturally over time, so it's much more likely that you can get to safety. And while CVs might deal a lot of damage in little bursts, they tend to not be the greatest when it comes to, I guess, damage over time. Whereas ships like battleships, cruisers, destroyers, I think they're much more likely to be able to out-damage the heals that go on. For example, when I played CVs in arms race mode, and there are a lot of heals on the enemy team, it ends up being quite difficult to actually get rid of enemy battleships as the CV. And I think that's going to be in our favor in this match. So as a Shikishima, I am not playing a secondary build, even though you might think I am. I'm playing a standard build. Later on I'll show what it is exactly, but it's usual, the survivability stuff. However, Shikishima does have better secondaries than the Yamato. In fact, virtually in every sense you can think of, Shikishima is either just as good as Yamato, or slightly better. She has about the same damage per minute output as the Yamato does. However, that's if you don't have it upgraded. If you have the legendary upgrade on the Yamato, in that case the Shikishima deals more DPM. Because, well, on Yamato you take the legendary, whereas on the Shikishima you take the reload upgrade. And Shikishima does have better dispersion as a base, which means that she doesn't need something like the legendary to be just as, I guess, accurate in terms of dispersion. And the secondaries are better, the anti-air is better. However, I do have to say that honestly it kinda feels better when playing Yamato, just because you have 50% more shells that go out when you fire your guns. Because quite often when I play the Shikishima, I just fire salvos and get frustrated because I don't deal any damage. You know, you only fire out 6 shells, and often I'll see like 3 shells go too far, 3 shells fall short, and nothing hit the target. Now Shikishima does make up for it though, with the fact that she has the higher amount of damage per shell. Like an over-penetration from a Shikishima is almost 2000 damage. That is quite significant. And I mean, that means a Citadel is what? Almost 20,000 damage? However, when you're just dealing regular damage or only get one shot off on a target, such as a Smolensk or a, I don't know, Minotaur or similar, it does feel really bad when you just don't do anything, or you get like 1 over penetration or maybe 2 over penetrations. Whereas on a Yamato you would have gotten 3 or maybe even more. Maybe one of those would have been a penetration. But honestly, I think that's just confirmation bias on my end though. So it's not necessarily the ship. I mean, right now, look, I hit 4 shells on that Montana right there. Almost 14 kilometers away. It's just that one failed to penetrate and 2 ricocheted. So we didn't deal much damage, but we're gonna sink her here now. Thank you, CV, for helping. And I guess we can then move forward, right? Because they only have a Smolensk and the Shimok is here. Whereas we have a Goliath, a Shikishima, and a Smoland. Or, I guess we don't have a Smoland after all, because somehow she managed to die against the Shimakaze and the Smolensk. No CV involved or anything. What? How did that happen? But regardless, she's already gone, and our Goliath isn't looking mighty healthy anymore either. Especially with the CV coming over here, so I guess I'll have to take matters into my own hands. I'd really like to go for that speed buff, because at this point I think turning around is a bit dangerous. There's a Shimakaze ahead of me. Luckily the CV is on this side, which means that if the Shima gets out of the smoke, I will be able to shoot at her, and my secondaries will be able to engage soon enough. Maybe? Yeah, definitely can. Come on! Hey! 2 overpens, 4000 damage basically, and now the secondaries are going wild. Basically, the Shikishima has, as a side secondary, she has the same guns as Harugumo, which is kind of funny because you see there's a turret next to the, like a secondary turret next to the big ones, like next to the 4 or 5 10s, right? Those are 155 millimeters. They have less HE penetration than the little secondaries on the side. But regardless, goodbye Shimakaze, and now we don't really need to worry about it too much here. I mean, sure, our Goliath was taken out, but I'm a Shikishima against a Smolensk. I don't care how much midway you have here, it's not gonna work, Smolensk. It just isn't gonna work. I get like one penetration and one citadel and one overpen, and that's good night. Like that. One citadel and one overpen, and that was good night to that Smolensk. Yeah, I would say in a situation like this, it's much better to be a Yamato, because you're more likely to land the shells, I think, because you just have a higher volume of fire. But I mean, Shikishima's 2 shells were simply enough. And actually, thinking about it, would 3 overpens? No, it would have had to be, no, it would have had to be 4 penetration, or 3 overpens and 1, I guess, I don't know if an overpen would be enough. But I mean, even that would have been enough to sink that Smolensk there. Regardless though, I'm gonna wait for this heal buff here, 17 seconds, and then we're gonna engage the 2 ships that are in the Circle of Doom, near where the ACAT normally is. That, Des Moines and Minotaur, I believe. But first the heal buff, because heal buffs are really good. I mean, I've already probably taken like 50 or 60k damage, but I'm up to 72k HP already. Because this heal buff is going on constantly. Constantly taking over and over and over and over again, and you just keep getting HP back. Hello Midway, nice planes you have there. It would be a shame if they were shut down or something. Except of course the anti-air decides not to do that right here, but the Shikishima does actually have pretty decent anti-air when it, compared to at least Yamato, right? It's not like amazing, but I think it has like 10 flak bubbles, which is insane. I think that's actually one of the highest on all battleships. Which is pretty damn nice. If you have multiple of these, they can be rather frustrating to play against as a CV, because you need to avoid the flak. If you hit it, your planes are just gonna die. I mean, usually. Not always, of course. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna take the blind salvo since the Des Moines and the Minnow aren't visible. And then I'm gonna swing around the island here and go into the middle. Mostly because we only have 1 Thunder in the middle, and I do think the Thunder is likely to be taken at... Oh, is that the CV I see over there? Damn, it would be really nice to go for her, but I don't think it's likely. The angle is kinda poor, and the Midway will most likely just turn away after this. Which means that it ain't happening, okay? If I was in a better position, maybe. Like, if I were where the Thunder is, possibly, but not from here. It'll take way too long to try to chase this Midway down. Also, by the way, I am up to 81k HP. As I rounded this island here, I regained like 10,000 HP right there. Wow, that dispersion looked horrible, but I guess I didn't lead enough either. The main thing is that when you lead on a Midway, you don't want to actually hit the armored deck, because then you'll just bounce. Anyway, the fight is gonna be with this Minotaur and the Des Moines that are pushing into the middle now. Minnow is obviously the focus because she has torpedoes, and Des Moines is secondary because she is slightly less dangerous. Since, you know, she does not have any torpedoes, other than the one. I only landed 1 shell there, and that still took half her HP. But half her HP isn't quite what we need. We needed 2 shell heads there. So I guess we'll have to do a follow-up. And here we ricocheted off of a Minotaur. Thought the Des Moines was kinda showing broadside, so I figured I would try to take a salvo, but sadly only regular penetrations, and a ricochet by the way. Next up, we're gonna try to finish the Minotaur here. I mean, she is at 7 kilometers, okay, this should work, right? Okay, we avoided the Minotaurs, but just in case, let's try to make sure that she's gone. And goodbye. 1 Citadel and 1 Overpen again. Anyway, time for the Des Moines. If the Des Moines goes down, the game's pretty much over for them, because they only have the Des Moines and the CV left. But aiming at the cruiser at this kind of range, especially as she's coming close, is hard. The rudder is really fast. Just look at my battleship rudder, right? Because of the maneuvering buffs. Look at how quickly my rudder goes in a bit. Look at that, I'm turning right now. I'm already half rudder. And I'm already full rudder. Here I waited a bit, or I should have waited slightly longer. I didn't want to wait though, because turret traverse is still really slow. And so I wanted to try to actually be able to get my rear turret to fire, but unfortunately I fired too early and I simply got 2 overpens. Anyway, this actually isn't looking too good. She's dealing a lot of damage, especially with that CV included. Come on! Damn it! I did start a fire though, so she's definitely gone, but Midway actually took my Kraken right there. Just saying, that Des Moines would have burned down, and then I would have had my Kraken. Sadly, Midway took it, but it's okay. I mean, it's about winning. This is ranked after all. Like, who cares really about things like Krakens in ranked? It's just kinda unfortunate. But we're definitely winning. Midway enters the cap right here, and then the Petra can do essentially whatever she wants, right? Just the Midway entering the cap is enough to win this match. So what could I have done differently there? Well, maybe I should have tried to ram harder, or maybe I should have started turning earlier, but honestly, in a situation like that, that would have passed. If you can't sink the cruiser early enough, as a Shikishima or Yamato, it ends up being a very difficult situation, just because your turret traverse simply cannot keep up with the cruiser. And what makes it more difficult is that this is arms race with the different maneuvering buffs going on. You know, it's even harder to actually be able to keep up with the turning and maneuvering of the cruiser. So I guess, I mean, things went kind of okay, since we're winning anyway. So let's skip a few minutes forward, and I mean, here's the end of the game, right? Goodbye, Midway. The Petra and the Midway's combination finished her off, but it's kind of boring, since my camera was essentially pointed on my Midway. And hey, we won, so that's all that really matters. 167k damage, sank 4 ships. I mean, we sank the Shimakaze, the Smolensk, the Minotaur, the Des Moines. No, actually we didn't sink the Des Moines. We almost sank the Des Moines, and the Montana. So I feel like we did our part. So let's take a look at the commander skills and upgrades. Wow, I actually only did 42k damage to that Montana. But I did 41k to that Minotaur, 20k to the Smolensk, and 37k to the Des Moines. And 7k to the Shima. But look at my tanking though, 180,000 damage. And I didn't even use up all of my heals or anything, right? I only survived for 12 minutes. The heals in Arms Race are just... I find that they make the game so much more fun. Like, I enjoy it quite a lot. And I kinda wish that we had Arms Race in random battles as well. Like, you could just get Arms Race as a game mode. Because I truly do enjoy this mode. Maybe if it was too ubiquitous, maybe it wouldn't be quite as fun, but I honestly really like Arms Race. So, for now at least, I would like to see more of it. But look at this, by the way. 19 over penetrations, 10 ricochets, 4 non-penetrations, 2 torpedo protection hits, 47 times my shells hit the target, and only 12 of those times they actually did a penetration. Mostly it's overpens, I guess, it's the largest factor, and then next up is just shell hits that don't deal any damage. And then you have to keep in mind that most of the shells don't even hit the target. So yeah, only a fraction of them actually deal significant amounts of damage. Although I suppose overpens are significant on the Shikishima as well. So let's take a look at the commander skills and upgrades. Obviously I use Yamamoto the same as I use on Yamato. So priority target, expert marksman, superintendent, concealment expert, adrenaline rush, fire prevention, and basics of survivability. By the way, if we had the broken expert marksman, maybe I could have kept up with that Des Moines. But upgrades, the reload upgrade, concealment, then propulsion mod, by the way, then aiming systems modification 1, then damage control, and main arms modification 1. And I think this is a pretty decent Shikishima build. Like, it's not amazing, but it feels like what you should play as the Shikishima. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I would like to thank the patrons on Patreon. Thank you very much for your continued support, and I hope I'll see you guys next time.